I got a new car! Something is wrong with my car and I don't know what it is and it's making me so sad. You're gonna be okay. I love you. So what are we looking at?
At this point, we have to decide which direction we want to move forward.
Okay.
Because like I said, the only way to repair this engine, complete rebuild.
A few days ago, my Volkswagen GTI had an oil pressure warning light come on. So I brought it to a local mechanic near the shop where they ran some tests, and indeed the engine is losing oil pressure. Even worse, they did an oil change and found metal flakes in the oil. So after some internet research and some recommendations, I'm bringing the car to a Volkswagen specialist. It's loaded up and it's headed down to VFC Engineering.
What's up, guys? We're here at VFC Engineering in Chicago. We found out that there's something very wrong with the GTI. Don't know exactly what it is, but we brought it down to here, Volkswagen specialist. This was recommended by a couple guys on the forums, and after I reached out to them and talked to Zach, I felt really comfortable with bringing my car here, but the only problem was that they're busy. Any good shop is going to be busy, so it's been here for 2 weeks. They're finally got it up on the lift. We're gonna do some investigating work on it today. They actually had it for the most of the day. They took down the oil pan. We know that there's something wrong with it, but I don't know exactly how bad it is. Do I have to rebuild the entire engine? Do I have to get a new engine? I have no idea. So let's go inside. Let's talk to these guys and find out what's wrong.
All right, well, she's on the rack.
Should we look at her?
Yeah. So we did start to take the, I'm waiting on my tech to send me some pictures. First things first we did was we measured the crank run out.
Okay.
Before we did anything. And the play was significantly above the spec.
Okay.
I think the spec is 0.22 millimeters, and you had 3 millimeters of play.
That's the crankshaft going back and forth. So I probably felt this for a while in the clutch. That's what I could feel. Is this something that could have been going on for a while?
Most likely, yeah. Once things get to sort of this point, it's a little difficult to, you play the chicken or the egg game.
Yeah.
It's a little difficult to say what happened first to get, to get a good timeline, but you have a pretty obvious failure. All right, so yeah, first things first, we measured just the crankshaft end play.
Okay.
Once we got the bottom, I'll fully admit I got a little ahead of myself because I forgot in order to get the girdle off, you have to take the tranny out to get the rear main seal cover off. So I stopped halfway through there, but so we measured the play and we actually found the thrust washer.
What? That was in the bottom of the oil pan?
Yeah.
The thrust washer.
Yep. So that's what, it goes on the main journals of the crankshaft, and that's what prevents the crank from moving in the block too much or excessively.
How long do you think that's been down there?
Well, so there's 2 halves of it.
Okay.
That's only the 1 half.
Okay.
So like if you look, or right here, the crank has a pretty significant movement. So like I said, the allowable tolerance, I believe, is 0.22 of a millimeter, but you have around 3 mil of crank end play. So I wanted to get the girdle off so that we can actually, grab one of the journals of the crank just to see, because at this point, it's eligible for a full rebuild. The only way to install those washers is to have the crank and the pistons out of the engine.
Okay.
But what I wanted to see was, typically when this happens, if it's let go, if it goes on too long, the crank will actually machine itself into the block. And so the block and the crank are no longer repairable.
So what would cause that to happen?
Well, with this engine being relatively new in the heavily modified world, what I think they did is they made it from too soft a material from the factory. So when people start modifying their cars, first thing you have to do is put a beefier clutch in to hold all that power. Well, every time you push the clutch in, the pressure plate is putting that pressure onto the crankshaft, axially. And so literally it's just like wearing through a rod bearing or a main bearing, but it's just a different bearing in the engine.
Okay.
So from what I've seen on a couple of these that we've had in here, the bearing material is just too soft.
So, I mean, is it my fault? Is it the way I'm driving it? Is it something that I'm doing?
No. You mentioned there's a stage 2 clutch in here?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think from South Bend that only has like a 450 or a 500 foot-pound rating to it. Which is plenty for what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's unfortunately it tends to beat up the thrust washers. Yeah.
Okay. So what are we looking at?
At this point, we have to decide which direction we want to move forward.
Okay.
Because like I said, the only way to repair this engine, complete rebuild.
Yeah.
Because there's, if you look at this oil, it has, obviously there's some major parts here, but you can see how it's like, it has that gray tint to it.
Yeah.
So that debris is all over the engine.
Yeah.
So if I were to just, take the bottom end apart, throw it together type deal, that wouldn't be a complete service, a complete repair, because this metal is going to take out something else. It's going to damage the camshaft actuators. It's going to seize up a balance shaft. It's, you know what I mean? So in order to make this specific engine, usable, reliable again, everything needs to be disassembled, either clean, measured, checked, or replaced.
Okay.
The other option is to get a new or used motor, something that's, but that doesn't solve the problem. I think with the clutch that's in there, you're going to run into this problem again.
Really?
Yeah.
Just with this particular engine, even if I get like the same engine used.
Yeah.
And there's no way to like change that. You're gonna have to take everything out of it.
In order to change that, the entire.
Okay.
We could
but
probably
rebuilding this one, you could put something a little heavier in there.
Well, either way, yeah, we could put something heavier in there. This is more so like I said, a little bit of a decision-making time for yourself, where it's like, what's the end goal? Because that allows us to make the smartest decision now.
Right.
I mean, the easiest, fastest, cheapest way, just toss a motor in there. You know what I mean? Whatever. And it's a roll of the dice for sure, because we don't know the oil service history. We don't know, what's been done to it beforehand. It could be a car that's, it's out of a stage 2 plus stage 3 car, and you 5,000 miles down the road and you're crank walking again. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather not do that. Well, I plan on keeping the car for a long time. I enjoy building it. I want to do more to it. I got to lower it and do some other things to it. I mean, but this is my daily driver. Yep. I still drive it, 140 miles a day. Yeah. But I still want to have fun with it, so.
So then at that point, it's do it right the first time?
I mean, rebuilding the engine and going through all this, I mean, it's almost like I have a brand new engine in there, correct?
Oh yeah, it's pretty much like a reset stamp on the, for sure. And that's why I'm thinking,
And then I can drive it for another 6-7 years with as much as I'm driving it.
You could probably drive it a little bit longer than that, I would say.
I mean, because I'm putting 35,000 miles on a year. Yeah. All right, 2 big questions. Yeah. How much is it going to cost and how fast can we get it done?
It's sort of, what's the old saying, right? It's like cost, time, and expense, or
you can
quality.
Choose two.
Yeah, you can choose two.
That's it.
Yeah, we can do anything. As long as we're really, reasonably compensated for it. So typically, a build like this, I generally say a month. Okay. Because some of the stuff we do send out. Mm-hmm. So the disassembly, that goes pretty quickly. From there, there's a lot of measurement that goes on, because then that determines what we tell the machinist to either take or remove from a component, crankshaft, whatever. Yeah. Cost, really determines on how many broken pieces we find.
Okay.
You know, and that's why I hate to give such a range, but
Yeah.
you know, it can literally, I've seen engines range where they start off with like a $3,000 build and then it's 12 grand by the time we're all done.
Wow.
Labor typically will stay the same, right?
Yeah.
Because if you find the broken part, whatever, you're taking it off anyways.
Yeah.
But you know, some of these Porsches are the perfect example where we've gotten into, you know, just a top end refresh and, you know, we find some broken things and we got to go all the way down to the cases.
Yeah.
And Porsche numbers are a little bit different than Volkswagen numbers, but
Yeah.
you know, yeah, that it can this, I call it scope creep, right? Okay. You go into a project thinking that this is the avenue that we're going. By the time you get halfway down that avenue, you have to break off into a new, and so the scope of work either expands or contracts, and obviously the cost will typically vary with that. But that's another reason why I always like to plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Because then I can give you a number, let's say it's 10, 12 grand, but if we don't need pistons, you can instantly take 1,200 bucks off that. You know what I mean?
So, but this could cost up to 10 grand?
Correct. Yeah, I would say is like just my quick off the cuff. You know, I haven't looked into any solid numbers since I wanted to see sort of what we were up against today. But when I was looking into it, like worst case scenario, you know, before we started digging into it, yeah, I think we're at the 10 to 12 range.
Holy crap.
Which is difficult to justify because it's almost 50% of the value.
Yeah, I feel like I could just almost buy a new car.
Now, like I said, that's what I would consider to be ultra worst case scenario. If there's components in there that we find that don't require replacement,
Yeah.
that number would change significantly, but.
Holy crap. Okay, so that's my options, huh?
Yeah. I mean, there will always be, I definitely say cheaper options. But when you get to this point, if you're making that decision, doing it right the first time is always going to pay off in the long run.
I need a day to kind of digest everything and figure out 10 grand's a big number.
Yeah.
Makes me almost want to buy a different car.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm sure there are people who can attempt this at a lower rate, but it's, what are you getting with the lower rate? You know what I mean? You know, now that we know where we stand, I can crunch some numbers more precisely, and we can, you know, because at this point that's what it's all about. You know, let the numbers make the decision for you, and go from there.
Sweet. All right.
But yeah, so what I'll do then is I'll build two estimates. One using like a used motor. And then one doing like a full build-up of this guy.
Okay.
And we can kind of go from there.
Sweet. All right, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that wasn't good news at all. I like him. I like his shop. That sucks because you don't know what it's going to cost until you get into the engine. You'd be like, okay, we got to replace the crankshaft, or we're going to replace all the pistons, all the rods, everything. And I can see how it could easily start racking up those numbers, but 10 grand? That's half what I paid for the car for a new motor, but it'll be a new motor, I guess. It'll be a brand new car. Or do I trade it in? Put something in there, just, you know, get a new engine in there, put everything back to stock, sell it and get a Golf R, or I don't know, new car? I don't know. Whew. Let me know what you think. What should I do? I was not expecting that big of a number. Like, I feel like I was prepared for like $3,000 to $5,000, but $10,000 to $12,000 just seems crazy. And like, I'm trying to get my head around it. So Zach, I loved his shop. I got a great feeling from him. An awesome guy, cool. But from what he's telling me and what I'm understanding is nothing I could have done about this. So upgrading my clutch to a stage 2 South Bend clutch, and this part could not handle the the clutch at all. And from what I'm understanding, like, this would probably happen to any Mark 7 with an upgraded clutch. It's not about whether it's going to happen, it's just when it's going to happen. I just find that just crazy. Like, why would I put this upgraded clutch in my car if there is this part in the internals that is going to break because it can't handle it, because it's weak? That just baffles me. Like, why would I even do that? I mean, I guess you don't know, but that's crazy. It seems like this is a Volkswagen engine problem. Like, how could it not handle that? You know, like, you're just putting in an upgraded clutch, and that's the problem. That's why this crankshaft bearing broke. So, that's insane. I don't know. It's not sitting right with me. It doesn't. 10 to 12 grand? That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. I don't know. Maybe we will just be putting it back to stock. Starting with another car, I guess. I don't know. Maybe my car enthusiast modding stage will be real quick. I don't know, but it's fun driving it. So I just opened up the estimate from VFC Engineering, and there's a lot of different options on here. It's actually kind of hard to read. It's all put together. So I'm gonna call Zach, and we're gonna find out what this is gonna cost. Is Zach available, please? Hey, Zach, it's Jason.
Hey, what's up?
I got the estimate, and you're right. It's a little, it's hard to read.
Yeah, because like if you just look at it, it's like, well, it's 32 grand. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But it's because it's like it's both services there. So let me just pull it up so that we can kind of go over it together. The first one is if we did like a full performance build, right?
Okay.
So there's a lot of gaskets involved in that. There's that's like a set of performance pistons, performance connecting rods. They're all stock dimensions.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing changing there, but it's just a beefier piece. You know what I mean? It's like, in my mind, it's like if we're in there,
yeah,
we should make things better. Now, again, like I said, if we get in there and your factory pistons are totally fine, then we can reuse them.
Now, okay, so the performance pistons and the rods and everything, that's not going to make anything faster. It's just going to hold up to more power, correct?
Correct. It'll hold up to more abuse.
Okay. So
It's sort of like you can put your blinders on at that point.
So
it doesn't matter if you get like a weird boost spike. If something fails, you're not going to bend a connecting rod. Those rods are built for that.
okay. And this first one here, that's replacing everything, all the internals, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So like it's just like I see the flywheel bolt and the oil pump. I mean, if the oil pump is fine, we don't need to replace the oil pump?
No, for sure we're replacing the oil pump.
Okay, you are.
It's full of metal at this point.
Okay, got it. Okay. Okay, so my option one is to do this performance build, and the total there is $13,461.
Correct.
What are my other options here?
So down there at the bottom, I just have listed like a straight 14 hours of labor, and then there's two engines there. The first one is what it would cost like if you wanted to wait for a factory engine.
Okay.
They don't have any in stock currently.
Okay.
The second one is just like a used one that I found from a wholesaler.
Okay. So
there aren't a lot of gaskets. Yeah, I didn't list any gaskets on any of those engines just because I don't know what it's going to come with. You know what I mean? Sometimes when you get a used engine, it comes with a new intake manifold or what have you. You know what I mean? So
right. So the used engine here, that's just the price of the used engine. So that's $4,300 just for the used engine.
Correct.
And then that's not including the labor to replace it.
Well, the labor's in there.
Okay.
So it's like an additional $2,000 in labor. So if I take that other engine out, it comes out to like 6,400.
Okay.
Which I assume that number will change, slightly depending on what style used engine actually shows up.
Okay. So minimum, I'm looking at 6,400. That's the least amount that I'm
At a minimum, yeah, I would say 64 to 74. I don't think we'd add another $1,000 to that bill, but it's like all the little stuff. Like we would have to put the flywheel bolts, like you mentioned, they're one-time use only. So when we took the current flywheel off the car, put it onto the new engine, or went with a different setup to maybe not have this issue happen again, like those flywheel bolts would need to be replaced. So it's a little $10 here and there that would raise the cost. But
yeah.
Overall, yeah, it's a $6,000-$7,000 endeavor.
All right. Okay, so $13,461 on the high end. That's the performance rebuild, and then the used engine, I'm looking at between 6,000 and 7,000.
Correct. Yeah, and option A is 4 to 6 weeks. Option B is 2 weeks.
Okay, 4 to 6 weeks
for the full build.
For the full build.
Option 2, just replacing the unit with a used unit would be.
Yeah.
Probably 2 weeks.
Okay, Zach, thank you. I appreciate you going through this with me. Let me go through my options, and I'll give you a call back.
Yeah, man, no worries. I'm here all day until about 5.
All right, thank you, brother.
You got it.
All right, bye.